Welcome back to Enneagram Moment. I'm your host, Ethan Bladen. Today's episode is for those of you who feel like you are watching life more than living it. You think deeply. You observe carefully. You understand systems, patterns, and ideas better than most people. And yet, despite all that insight, you may feel strangely distant from your own life, as if you're operating from behind glass. This episode explores why that happens. The Enneagram is not here to label or limit you. It exists to reveal the automatic strategies you learned early in life to feel safe. Strategies that once protected you, but now quietly keep you stuck. For many of us, especially those with strong Type 5 patterns, that strategy looks like retreating into the mind-turning experience into information and building a sense of security through understanding rather than participation. In this episode, I'll help you begin to catch yourself in the act, to notice when curiosity becomes avoidance, when preparation replaces action, and when independence quietly turns into isolation. Because, without awareness, these patterns run automatically. And when that happens, we don't choose our lives, we repeat them. Join me as we explore how to step out of observer mode and into a more embodied, present, and liberated way of living. If you often feel like an outside observer, watching the world from a safe distance, you are not alone. You may take pride in your intelligence, your ability to solve complex problems, and your preference for depth over small talk, but there is a quiet cost to living this way. Your energy feels limited, like a battery that drains every time you step into the world. You notice that others seem to move through life with an ease you don't feel. They act before they fully understand. They speak before everything is clear, and somehow they still survive. Meanwhile, you hesitate, not because you lack ability, but because you feel safest when everything is mapped, measured, and understood. This constant drive to collect information is rarely just curiosity. More often, it is a response to a deeper fear, the fear of being helpless, incapable, or unprepared for a chaotic world. Somewhere along the way, you learned that knowledge equals safety, and uncertainty equals danger. So you build a fortress, not with walls, but with information. You tell yourself, if I understand enough, nothing can surprise me, nothing can hurt me. And, for a time, this works. The mind becomes a shelter. Thought becomes protection. Observation becomes distance. For many people with strong Type 5 patterns, reality feels intrusive. People are loud. Emotions are unpredictable. Needs arrive without warning. And every request feels like a drain on a limited internal resource. So you retreat inward, not because you don't care, but because caring feels expensive. In the Enneagram, this pattern is known as the Investigator, the one who watches, analyzes, and understands before engaging, the one who prefers the inner world where systems make sense and variables can be controlled. In your mind, there is order, and order feels like peace. But here is the hidden danger. As your inner map becomes more refined, you stop walking the actual ground. You begin to confuse understanding with living. You become what psychologists sometimes call a disembodied mind, treating your body and emotions as inconveniences rather than sources of wisdom. You know about life, but you are no longer fully in it. Your body waits. Your feelings wait. Experience waits, while your mind keeps preparing. This pattern did not appear by accident. It was learned early, and from what I've observed, many people who developed this way of living did not do so because they enjoyed solitude. They did it because presence once felt unsafe. Imagine a child growing up in a tense household, where adults are overwhelmed, emotionally volatile, or constantly arguing. The child quickly learns something important. Every time I speak, the atmosphere gets heavier. Every time I need something, the system becomes more unstable. So the child adapts, not by demanding attention, but by disappearing quietly. They sit in a corner. They read. They observe. They learn to process the world internally rather than externally, not because they lack emotion, but because withdrawal keeps the peace. No one explicitly tells the child to do this, but the lesson is absorbed anyway. If I take up less space, things stay calmer. Silence becomes safety. Self-sufficiency becomes protection. Years later, that child becomes an adult, intelligent, independent, rarely asking for help, but still carrying the same unspoken contract. I won't need you if you don't need me. Independence becomes identity. Distance becomes normal, and the original survival strategy quietly hardens into a personality. At first, this independence feels empowering. You don't rely on anyone. You don't burden others. You don't expose yourself to disappointment. But over time, this independence slowly turns into isolation, and isolation begins to feel familiar. You minimize your needs so no one can let you down. Yet the cost is subtle and cumulative. Your heart is never fully nourished. Your nervous system never fully relaxes. You remain alert, conserving energy, watching for demands. People may describe you as distant, reserved, or even prickly, but you are not cold. You are careful. You are like a cactus, adapted to survive on very little water so you never have to risk asking for more. Experience is replaced with analysis. Conversations become data. Feelings become concepts. Relationships become mental models. Psychologists call this conceptualizing, turning living moments into ideas instead of inhabiting them. Understanding replaces presence. Thinking replaces feeling. Preparation replaces action. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to live more in your head than in your life. This is where the preparation trap appears. You refine. You optimize. You research. You adjust. You tell yourself you're almost ready, just one more article, one more video, one more piece of information. Preparation feels productive, but it also feels safe. Action, on the other hand, feels risky, because action exposes you. If you act too soon, someone might see that you don't know everything. Someone might challenge you. Someone might need something from you, and that threatens your sense of competence. So preparation delays exposure, and delay feels safer than participation. Days pass, projects stall, life waits. In relationships, this same fear appears as avarice, not for money, but for time, energy, and emotional availability. You ration yourself. You give just enough to remain polite, helpful, and socially acceptable, but not enough to feel vulnerable. Healthy privacy quietly turns into secrecy. Emotional closeness begins to feel like an earthquake, shaking your carefully ordered inner world. So when someone gets too close, you evade, not because you don't care, but because closeness feels destabilizing. Yet beneath all of this is a longing, to be engaged, to be alive, to feel connected without feeling consumed. The irony is that the very strategies you built to stay safe now keep you distant from the nourishment you need. Growth for you does not come from more information. It does not come from perfect understanding. It comes from embodiment, from bringing your intelligence down into your body and into action. In Enneagram terms, healing means moving toward the grounded strength of Type 8. Not aggression, not dominance, but presence. Confidence that comes from action rather than certainty. Power that comes from engagement rather than control. When you act before you feel ready, you may feel incompetent. Your mind may panic. Your inner critic may protest. But discovering that you can survive that feeling, without collapsing, is exactly what heals you. Confidence is not built by knowing everything. It is built by discovering that you can meet reality as it is, and remain intact. You do not need to dominate the world with intellect. You do not need to retreat from it either. You need to participate. The world does not need your ideas alone. It needs your presence. So here is a simple filter. Whenever you feel the urge to research, ask yourself 3 questions. Will I use this information in the next 48 hours to take a physical action? What is the single resource I will allow myself before I must produce something? And can I explain this idea clearly to another person, without hiding behind jargon or complexity? If the answer to the first question is no, close the tab. You are not preparing, you are rebuilding the fortress. Now, do something physical. Stand up. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your weight. Clench your fists, then release them. Let your body remind your mind that you exist here, not just in thought, but in space and time. Because life does not change when you understand it. Life changes when you step into it. Imperfectly, incompletely, and courageously. And the moment you leave the fortress, even briefly, you begin to live again. If something in this video stayed with you, or if you'd like to share your perspective, feel free to leave a comment below. Stay tuned.